Teena and I recently visited the Tennessee State Museum in Nashville to see the beautifully presented exhibition called Photography in Tennessee, Early Studios, and the Medium's First Century. As you can guess from the title, this is a showing of historical photography of early studios from around the state of Tennessee. It's a really beautiful display, and it also has the distinction of being the darkest photo exhibit I've ever been to. The curators made a one-off copy of an exhibition book with no tear plastic pages. One obvious source of business for early photographers was church group photos. In addition to photographs, the show included books about photography, antique cameras, and even some garments. It was quite a large show. The show made a point to demonstrate the success of people of color and of women in photography across the state. And there's one particularly important photo here, the first ever portrait of a U.S. president with his cabinet, an 1846 daguerreotype of President James K. Polk, a Tennessean, that was made by John Plum Jr. in Washington, D.C. And there's also this copy of a photo of Polk by the legendary Matthew Brady. But the photographer I'm most interested in from this show is a gentleman named W.S. Lively. William Spencer Lively, whom his students called Dad or Daddy Lively. And yes, I find that a bit strange, but it was a different time. And anyways, W.S. Lively was the founder of only the second ever photography school in the nation in a very small Tennessee town. I'll take you to the town in a few minutes, but first let's see what the exhibition can tell us about him. The Southern School of Photography was founded in McMinnville, Tennessee in 1904. The building sat on a hilltop in the town and contained 64 rooms on 4 acres. Unfortunately, it burned in 1928. W.S. Lively, who lived from 1855 until 1944, was the son of a furniture maker and undertaker in McMinnville. By the 1870s, he was working as a photographer. Here's a look at the entire display of W.S. Lively materials. Pay close attention to this huge negative. We'll see it again later when we travel over to McMinnville. Lively was known for making very large negatives and prints. In fact, another of Lively's accomplishments was to build a huge view camera that could produce 60-inch glass negatives. This must have been quite a difficult camera to operate, and imagine trying to manage and develop a 60-inch sheet of glass in total darkness. The notoriety of this achievement resulted in Lively's work being acquired for the collections of the Smithsonian Institution. These are some of the portraits made in the Lively studio in McMinnville. Here's a selection of cabinet cards from the 1880s and the 1890s. And here's a look at one of W.S. Lively's view cameras. And something unusual, a set of souvenir spoons from the Southern School of Photography. I really enjoyed this whole show, but now let's transition away to learn more about W.S. Lively and the Southern School of Photography. I first learned about W.S. Lively when I found one of his albumin print cabinet card portraits for sale in a local antique shop. I don't have a date for this, and it doesn't match anything in the exhibition, but I'm guessing it was from the 1880s. I'm basing that on the look of the man's suit, the fact that the mount is covered with colored ink, and the rounded corners of the mount. Also on the back, there are some elements that could reflect the rage of Japanism that ran through America in those days. That was like a fanaticism about all things Japanese. Now, after getting this cabinet card, when I went to research Lively, who I knew nothing about, and learned that he had founded one of the first photography schools in the nation, I knew I had to go to McMinnville to learn more. Our first stop is the location of the old Southern School of Photography, which sadly no longer stands. Recall, it was severely burned in 1928 and torn down sometime after that. Notice that the historical marker refers to W.S. Lively as Dad Lively. Apparently that's what the students called him, and I've even seen him called Daddy Lively in print ads in professional photography journals in his day. The marker also refers to his huge 30 by 60 inch prints that went to the Smithsonian. Now, W.S. Lively was a beloved figure in the community and still well remembered there today. He was among the founders of the Kentucky-Tennessee Photographers Association. The school was a massive building that had formerly been a college for women, built in 1855. It sat on top of this hill, and these were the steps that led to the school building. These and the historical marker are about the only signs that the school ever existed. Lively and his family lived in one wing of the building and continued to stay there even after most of the building was lost in the fire. By all accounts, the Southern School of Photography was one of the first of its kind and provided an excellent training in photography for young men and notably also for young women. This was at a time when women were not encouraged to have professional careers, and in fact, many women graduated from the school's program. Reassuring young female students and their families was so important that the school's marketing pamphlets listed among its assets that there were no saloons in McMinnville. Today, the property is owned by a neighboring church, which built a basketball court where the school once stood. This is what the school looked like, quite a structure. That's W.S. Lively on the right with the white hair. There's a view down the steps and over to downtown McMinnville, the location of Lively's photo studio. We'll go there next. Okay, y'all, here I am on Main Street in McMinnville. There's the Lively building, and it's dated 1915, so it would have come after the photo in my collection. But Lively also operated a furniture store, sold caskets, and provided mortuary services. All of these businesses operated from the same three-story building circa 1915 that stands on West Main Street in McMinnville. The photo studio was located on the second floor. Something they do here in McMinnville that I think is really cool is they place placards on the sidewalk that identifies the historical use of the buildings. The building on the left is now a museum with some artifacts from the Lively Studio and the Southern School. According to the museum sidewalk marker, it opened in 2001. In the museum's window, you can see an ad for the W.S. Lively and Son era of the photo studio. It advertises flash photography and says you can get a portrait made night or day. And here's a combined print ad for the furniture and funerary services, including embalming, and also the photography business. Inside the museum, there are reproductions of the large 30 by 60 inch prints that helped make Lively famous in his day. And here's that same negative of the Henry Meadows portrait that we saw at the exhibition earlier. Well, I hope you enjoyed learning more about W.S. Lively and the Southern School of Photography. Thanks for watching. Be sure to visit my website at keithdotson.com.